Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Jones here with an emergency alert. The date is November 28th, 2015 on this Saturday. I have just spent at least the last 5 hours in deep research, as well as multiple hours last night, detailing and breaking down and fact-checking what I'm about to tell you. And then in a moment, I'm going to take you in an office and show you mainstream news saying what I'm saying. The difference is we said this 6 months ago, a month ago, 2 weeks ago, and now it's unfolding. The situation in Syria is deteriorating very, very quickly. As you know, last week, the Turkish military with 2 U.S.-made F-16s shot down a Russian fighter bomber on the edge of their airspace. Now, whether they were in their airspace or not, we have multiple articles at Infowars.com with the president and prime minister of Turkey talking about their daily incursions, daily, for 4 years, into Syria, bombing the Kurds and others, and using artillery to fire on the Syrian military for the last 4 years. They just sent their fighter aircraft in yesterday and bombed inside Syria again. Syria said, you don't have permission. So he says, if you fly on the edge of our airspace, we're going to shoot you down, but we're allowed to fly into your airspace. The Russians have moved in S-400s that are undoubtedly as good as the best U.S. surface-to-air anti-aircraft missiles. They have got missiles that go out over 1,000 miles. They've got medium range that go out 250 to 150. They've moved medium range S-400s in, dozens of the units, up to 3 missiles per launcher. There's no stopping them. There's no stopping them. Not with the new Joint Strike Fighter that cost over $1 trillion. They've defeated it with a system that cost a few $100 billion. And they are rolling more of these in, and they have told Turkey, okay, if you come in to the airspace, we're going to shoot you down for what you did. And Turkey responded and said, this will be an act of war then. We're going to continue to come in your airspace, and they're still doing it. So the clock's ticking till the Russians respond, folks. The clock's ticking till the Russians fire some of these anti-aircraft missiles, these SAMs, at a NATO-backed, NATO member country that is Turkey. This is unprecedented. And top former CIA analyst Robert Baer and many others are saying this is starting World War IV. World War III was the Cold War and proxy wars, and leading up to now is still part of World War III, is what analysts call it. World War IV is a big one between NATO, the United States, and Russia, and NATO is starting the fights in Ukraine and in Syria with Russia, starting the conflicts in both countries. Doesn't mean Russia's perfect, but Russia is not in an expansionist mode. The West is, run by the very same globalists that have crippled our future. Russia, a decade ago or so, kicked out the oligarchs. We're run by the very same oligarchs that hijacked Russia. So they have a serious beef with Russia because Russia was able to almost completely kick them out over the last 15 years or so. It's accelerated the last 10. So I want to take you back here outside the war room and go over these facts. You noticed a few months ago I put out total alerts. The video's got millions of views where I documented how the elites are stockpiling food, weapons, moving to the Cook Islands, moving to New Zealand, moving to armored redoubts in places like the Ozark Mountains. I mean, I talked to a lot of high-level people. You heard it here first, but now it's in the news that the elites are digging in. Now, I'm not saying World War III or World War IV is coming. I'm saying the climate is the worst it's ever been for this. Top generals are saying it. Top analysts are saying it. This is sick. And it's all done so Saudi Arabia can create this big, larger caliphate. Look at this. Stumbling to war with Russia. Ammo Land. Pat Buchanan. Excellent article. Details how dangerous all of this is. Continuing, ladies and gentlemen, the Syrian rebels also blew up the rescue helicopter 1.5 miles inside Syria. This was from the Turkish side. This is what they're doing in provocations with Russia. Absolutely unprecedented. Here are the S-400 missiles, 5th generation surface-to-air SAMs, that again have shot down aircraft and other missiles traveling at Mach 5 plus. And that's what's declassified. Just like U.S. aircraft carriers really go a lot faster than they say, or an Abrams tank goes faster, or a Warthog can do more than they say, the Russian systems can do more. They are a high-powered missile platform that in many cases has other missiles on board. So when it gets closer to a target, it releases those. Very sophisticated. You take one of these, $200 million a piece. In fact, they're even cheaper than that, some estimates are, and you put it up against a $5 billion, new, quote, stealth platform that we've supposedly rolled out. They're totally worthless compared. This is how corrupt our elites are as well, not allowing the United States to develop true weapon systems to counter this. Let's continue. Former CIA operative. Expect Putin to respond to provocations by Turkey. Curtin memo put out last night. And it's got the quotes from CNN with Baer, former top CIA analyst, made movies like Syriana about him, breaking down everything and saying we're the closest to war we've ever been, the beginning of World War III, in his words. Okay? And then it goes over the fact that the world's never been in a more dangerous position and that the Middle East is completely out of control and that he does not expect Vladimir Putin to back down. Go read the article for yourself, Infowars.com. Former CIA operative, get ready for World War III. So we told you all the evidence, the big global summit for world government in just a few weeks. Actually, it starts today in Paris, but really goes for the next 2 weeks for open world government. Accelerations of war in Ukraine, blowing up their power systems last week for all of the East in Crimea, done by the West. Huge escalations in the Middle East, open borders in Europe, open borders here. This is globalism waging war against all the nation states. Okay, and then having us bankrupt ourselves by fighting Russia economically and maybe even physically. This is the global destabilization. Crashing the West is the real conspiracy. Total emergency alert. Crashing the West for world war. This is what top analysts are saying, not just Alex Jones. Here's Ergun, whose son reportedly makes all the money off the billions of dollars of ISIS oil, pledges to start war over Russia anti-aircraft system in Syria. Moscow's deployed the advanced S-400 air defense. And he goes on to say, we will fly in your airspace and you'll do nothing or we'll attack you. He actually said it on TV. You can go watch the video. Yesterday, he said, you fly in our airspace, we shoot you down. We will fly in yours. I mean, this is the craziness, and NATO is backing him right now. I mean, folks need to read this for themselves. We are on the verge of something that could explode in a huge war. What did I say a few months ago? Shoot down Russian aircraft, U.S. troops being deployed as shields for the ISIS people in the middle of Syria. Any of them get killed, pretext for war on both sides. Now it's happening. And you could debate maybe a little bit if he wasn't flying his aircraft into Syria or if they weren't blowing up rescue helicopters. This is pure provocation. No U.S. airstrikes in Syria since Russia deployed S-400 systems. The U.S. was having to act like it was doing a few sorties a day to stop al-Qaeda and fight ISIS. But now since they deployed these, they won't put any of their aircraft into that area. That's how dangerous these missiles are. And it shows how the situation has escalated massively. Meanwhile, Latin America hands climate bill to rich world at summit. They got caught 5 years ago, in the climate bill. It's really a world government bill with world taxes, world regulations, world surveillance of all human activity by these unelected central groups at the IMF, World Bank, Exim Bank, and others. And it was basically double taxes on the third world, so the third world didn't do it. It was already sold as class warfare, take the West money, transfer it to the poor, Latin America, Africa, Asia, Middle East. But it was a screw job for them as well. So now they're all making it about class warfare and taxes on you and your family as if you haven't paid enough. And you've got to pay for immigrants and migrants because you're evil and you're bad. So there it is. That's from AFP. Another extremely important article. Reuters, ahead of climate summit, French use emergency laws to put activists under house arrest. People that believe in man-made global warming and people that don't. No free speech in France after the convenient jihadi attacks a few weeks ago, which I believe were real at the grassroots level, but still a false flag because who opened the borders? Who trained the jihadis? Who told them that freebies were there? Who let them come across the borders? The EU, the French government, who uses the crises to then take their own constituents' liberties and freedoms. Well, folks, that's it for this special report. You have been warned. This is our third total emergency alert issuance. I hope we make it through this December coming up and into next January. But this is the most critical time pretty much in human history, period, because of the weapons we have. We can't afford another World War I or another World War II. We will destroy ourselves. It comes down to that. Remember, before anybody talked about this winter being such a crisis, I did 6 months ago, because all of it's lining up. We hope by speaking out about this and getting you to speak out about it, we can avert what's happening. There's so much happening with global currencies, global famines, earth changes, the tectonic plates, the Pacific Rim. It's a great time of change, a great time of upheaval, but also a time when good men and women of every race, color, and creed can come together and promote true global peace, true global freedom, not the fake counterfeit global peace that comes from tyrannical world government run by a handful of central banks carrying out a eugenics agenda. As Vladimir Putin said a month ago, man-made anthropogenic climate change is a scientific military weapon system to shut down sovereign nations and impoverish the individual. It doesn't matter if you're a poor Latin American or a poor African or a poor Eastern European or a poor Texan in Houston. It doesn't matter whether you're a janitor or a rocket scientist. The globalists are targeting civilization and renaissance because they want to have a new dark age, unequally distributed, where the poor mass is ignorant and kept in mindless entertainment and sports while the elites control the future. And that's what Putin's saying, because Russia realizes it's in the crosshairs for destruction. It's not being given a place at the table of world order. And now they understand the larger plan, and that's why Russian state television sounds like the Alex Jones show. Not that Russia's perfect, but because this is a great time in history to decide which side you're on. Pro-human or pro-eugenicist, transhumanist, globalist garbage that's decided humanity's ugly and is over. Humanity could be over if this gets out of hand, and then the Russians start shooting down Turkish planes, the Turks start shooting down Russian planes, which they're already doing, and then larger weapons are used, and then nukes start getting used. That almost happened in 2008 in Georgia. Remember that? When NATO basically invaded and the Russians rolled in nukes and threatened to use them on state-run Russian TV? That was never on U.S. television, but that was in the news in Europe. That's how crazy these globalists are. Napoleon, Hitler, the rest of them wanting world power. We can't let the megalomaniacs do this again. I've only laid out some of the facts. Do the research for yourself. This is the big news. This is what needs to be discussed. I'll be on the radio, Lord willing, tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. Central with the Sunday edition, and then back with the weekday edition at Infowars.com and on stations across the country, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Things have gotten so serious, we've added an hour to the weekday broadcast. Infowars.com/show to find all the free live video feeds and more. High-tech production. This is just low-tech up here on Saturday with myself and Buckleyham and my cousin who helped start Infowars, because we can't just sit by and go to the mall or go to the park while this stuff's going on. We're here on our day off, our one day off fighting, because we realize how serious the situation is. For those of you that were joking a few months ago, you now realize this isn't a joke. This isn't a joke. And nuclear war will take all the smiles off the smartasses' faces. I hope we're doing our job and you're doing your job. We're also hitting our knees to make sure this doesn't happen. Alex Jones signing off from the front lines of the InfoWar.